And a very good Thursday evening to you. Georgia Tech's resilience has been tested before, but they have passed that test time and again. And we'll look to exit Blacksburg with high marks come Saturday night as the next contest for your Yellow Jackets brings them to Lane Stadium. And a 4-3 Virginia Tech team, Tommy Slether on Saturday at noon from Lane Stadium. As the clock continues to tick to game day, we will break down that matchup and much more over the next 60 minutes on a brand new edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. Great to have you with us again, live from New Round Brewing Company on the east side belt line of Atlanta. Happy for them to serve once again as our home base for the Brent Key Coaches Show this season. My name is Andy Demetrum, and without further ado, the namesake himself, Brent Key, joins us to talk Georgia Tech football. Brent, how are you?
How's it? The Brent Key Coaches Show really should be the Andy Show.
The ratings would be better if we have your name first, though.
But you're hosting it. I mean,
but people aren't really paying attention to me. I'm handing the ball off, and then you're the one who's taking it to the house and getting the adulation and the cheers and the scrutiny.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with the Brent Key Coaches Show. People hear my voice enough. So let's talk about this.
You let me do my. I almost had it. Whenever I'm on the spot, I can't do it though.
I know. You take a lot of pride in your
live on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Here we go. And kick off and toe meets leather.
That's exactly what we sound like.
Yeah.
I feel like you're better suited down there on the sideline than up in the booth with us. But we do look forward to bringing you the action this Saturday versus Virginia Tech. I know it was not the outcome you were looking for at Mercedes-Benz on Saturday. What was the message to your guys coming out of that Notre Dame game to set the tone, set the theme for practice this week?
Yeah. Even in the press conference afterwards, I said we have to be able to move forward from the game, right? Not move on. If you move on, that means you just take the game, put it behind you, move on to the next one. But be able to move forward with it and correct what are the reasons and what we did. Went in on Sunday and after going through all the things and the issues, meeting with the staff and individual coaches. Really meeting with the team, told them, all right, here's where we're at right now. 8 games in, 4 games left. Here's what we're doing well. All right, we've got to continue to do these things well. All right, here's what we're not doing well. We got to improve on those. All right, but then here's these 2 things that are really an Achilles heel the last couple of weeks. And, regardless of outcome of the game, whether you win or lose, I mean, the mistakes are mistakes and they have to be fixed. And, there were really 2 things we identified as our Achilles heel and then talked about the complete confidence in winning throughout the entire game and regardless of the score and all those things. And, so what we're doing well, we got to keep doing well. All right, what we're not doing well, we've got to improve on. And the things that are really biting us in the butt, we have to eliminate.
Well, you certainly have the credibility of knowing how to address, whatever deficiencies you had seen in the previous game. Because, as Georgia Tech fans well know, you're nearly unbeaten in games following a loss, 11-1. You'll try to make that 12-1 on Saturday. Yet play a number 12 Notre Dame team that's vying for a college football playoff berth. Without your starting quarterback, Haynes King just not good enough to go, but you brought in Zach Pyron, and, he gave you a chance, 20 of 36, 269 through the air, had a couple of those second half interceptions, but had a late touchdown as well, led the team in rushing. It seemed like Zach gave you what you needed to be able to compete. What were your thoughts on Zach's performance versus the Irish?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he came in and did what he was asked to do. There's a couple throws he liked to have back, whether they were the interceptions or the ones that we were a little bit off on. But I got in rhythm early, allowed us to move the football, and he's a tough kid and gritty kid who's going to give you everything he has.
I love that one of the first numbers Andrew and I cited before kickoff was that Notre Dame was second in the nation in opponent completion percentage. And then Zach goes out and goes 9 for 9 to begin. So, sometimes you do all the research and it breaks the complete opposite way. He led the team in rushing, which may have been a surprise, though not a surprise that he's a capable runner. There were some of those pull reads versus keep reads that he had throughout the game. How do you handle those situations? And to borrow a phrase of yours, hitting the landmarks of his runs?
Yeah, back to the throwing, I thought Buster did a nice job of getting him in a rhythm early and settling him in the game, not letting it get in and thinking he had to win the game on every throw and every run. Then we we had some of the quarterback runs and some of the reads, and I thought the decisions were good on those things, and the timing of it, we got to continue to work on some of those things. Split second here or there. That's a huge difference in the timing on some of those.
You set a very high bar for yourself on the ground. The prior 2 games weren't able to match that versus very stout Notre Dame defense. 29 carries, 64 rushing yards. That it did include the yards lost to sacks, of which you allowed 2. You kind of knew coming in Notre Dame may load up to stop the run, but still, how could your guys have maybe maximize their chances on those handoffs better?
Well, I mean, execute. But no, they're a good defense. In the run game, a lot of times, I mean, you're not going to start out in the game and just popping off big runs. It becomes what plays complement the other plays, and the passing, and then the play action, and the boots and those things. And really, when you get out of really by the second half, when you're out of rhythm with that, I think we had 3 runs in the second half. So really, you take the second half out of the game in that regard. But some of the perimeter plays that we had in the past, where we got the running backs on the edge and on the perimeter, and they were able to make somebody miss, or split 2 guys and get some really good hidden yardage there. It wasn't there. Now you really rely back down onto the guys being able to block the guys and up front, and the running backs being able to get the yards. And we just weren't able to get it done on Saturday, and we've got to be able to rebound now. Let's
flip to the other side of the ball. And you said at your press conference Tuesday the defensive line probably played its best game of the season. Notre Dame came in 5th nationally in yards per carry. They are a very dangerous team on the ground. You actually held the Irish to their 2nd lowest yards per carry average of the season. What made you believe that your defensive line collectively played as well as it has all season?
Yeah, well, they were disruptive. They were able to some of the runs inside, some of the inside plays. We talk about being able to obviously do your job, right? But then once you play a block on the defensive side, being able to get off that block and add it and overlap on the other side. I thought Zeke did a nice job in that game. I thought he played his best game of the year. And then once we either eliminate the blockers up front and it gets to the second level, or the fits on the second, third level, we got to be able to execute there too. So, but we were able to reset the line of scrimmage in a lot of ways. Some of the runs that broke were ones that bounced. They were inside plays that were clogged up, and they were able to bounce outside. We got to do a better job in the perimeter and the force players being able to come up and tackle.
He not only had to persevere without Haynes King, but your leading tackler as well, your linebacker Kyle Lippert, so your freshman Tajay Butler got his first career start. Not an easy place to do that versus the number 12 team in the nation, but how did he and some of the other linebackers cover for Kyle's absence? He's a really hard guy to replace, but it seemed like the effort at minimum was there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it best. I mean, Kyle's a hard guy to replace. He's played a lot of football. He's gotten to the heart and soul of the defense out there. And then, he's an eraser. He's able to erase gap exchanges. And, if somebody, fits a gap and knocked out of the gap, or fits a gap, on the other side, he's able to, just from experience and anticipation, be able to cover for it. But with him not in there, it was a little different. So, and I think it really had an effect on the back end as well. It had an effect on the safeties. You saw uncertainty. I didn't see a confident group of guys coming up that, hey, this is where I got to fit. This is where the guys are going to be, and I'm going to come up and make the play. It was a little bit, there was some second guessing taking place there, and that's not us. We can't do that.
Do you think that may have partly explained some of the issues with broken tackles?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do. I think there was, even though it might have been the right fits, the right plays, just the uncertainty with those guys, and then what that breeds is a little bit of a lack of confidence. Hey, now I've got to make this play in space, and they didn't, in the past, where then all of a sudden, Kyle shows up and erases it or makes the play. So, but we can't do that. And that's what I talk about with the confidence. When I talk about confidence of winning, I had to make sure I explained that on Tuesday of exactly what I meant with the confidence of winning. Confidence of winning really comes from the confidence of execution and having that confidence in yourself to go up and make those plays. And our guys, they got to believe in themselves, and they can't second guess themselves when it comes to that.
You had addressed at your press conference today the status of Haynes and Cal for Saturday, and it's not probable, questionable, doubtful. It's more hopeful at this point for both Kyle and Haynes as you get set for that 12 o'clock kickoff versus Virginia Tech on Saturday. So we'll see how they continue to mend between now and kickoff in Blacksburg as we're just getting underway here on the Brent Key Coaches Show. So plenty more to get to. Stick around. We'll have more after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Take a taste as we welcome you back to New Realm Brewing for tonight's live edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. By the way, that was fun last week. We had a special edition of your show on the steps of Sigma Alpha Epsilon in honor of the students selling out their student ticket allotment and bringing the show on campus. You were certainly in your wheelhouse. It goes without saying. Broadcasted from SAE last week, but good to be back, of course, at New Realm Brewing Company tonight, Coach.
Yeah, it is. It was fun last week, and look, anytime you can get out and whether you're among the students or be out in the city, and some of the wonderful things here in Atlanta, the places to go, and New Realm's one of the best places to go, just because location and variety of food on the menu and. No, it's a great spot. It's always such a good crowd. Sitting out on the belt line and enjoying the afternoon. Oh yeah, gorgeous night here. So make sure you come on out and RSVP Thursday nights here for the Brent Key Coaches Show. Let's continue the conversation. You'd addressed this on Tuesday, but the special teams had been steadily improving for a year plus, and I know it's taken that sharp turn the last 3 or 4 games. One has gotten off track, and is there a point where you have to prevent it from almost becoming a mental thing at this point? Yeah, no, there was it was weird because it not weird. It was disappointing, but we spent a lot of time on special teams, and for a year we made so much improvement. First 4 games of the year we made a ton of improvement. We continually gotten better. I think we were top 4 in the league in almost every category when it comes to teams. And then Louisville game, we had some blunders. Like going to the bye week, have the Duke game. Duke game we had, I don't think we flipped the field position as well as we should have. Gave up the kickoff return. All right, then we go up to UNC, and that's when it went from a mistake and 2 mistakes to starting to slowly we focus energy and time and effort, and then it was you had whether it be snap issues, kick, the whole 9 yards really in that game, and we were able that's what you have to do. You have to look at it, you have to own it, accept responsibility for it, but you have to find out why and why it is, and you got to get it fixed, because really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do during the week. None of that matters. What matters is how you play on Saturday and how you perform then. How difficult is that to do a deep dive mid-season as you're also trying to prepare for the next opponent? Yeah, well, it was not a deep dive as far as like self-scouting tendencies and those things. It's like, okay, we have X happen. Why does X happen? You sound like one of your professors at Georgia Tech now. Yeah. That's as far as I got in the equation. And there was a substitution issue. There were responsibility issue with fakes being run, and then obviously operational issues with on field goals. So it really covered the spectrum of everything. So you got to look down and say, all right, well, what's happened here? All right, that caused those things to occur. And myself, I'm the head coach, and I'm going to take responsibility for every bit of it. And that was my job. And my job also is to fix it, though. My job's not to sit there and say, well, we worked on it, and that's bull crap. All right. What matters are the results. Do you have an anticipation or an expectation that Virginia Tech, seeing what they've seen the last few weeks, that they may dial up the aggression more on special teams? They've always been renowned for that aspect, dating back to the Frank Beamer days. But do you feel like they're going to try to prey on that, and that should at least raise the alertness of your guys when they do come out for their special teams units? I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, if I was game planning what I've seen the last 2 weeks from us, I would. I would for sure. And that's why it's got to end. I mean, this is the buck stops here. And I'll say this: there's no excuses. There's no exceptions. Right? it has to end and it has to improve and get back on track where we were previously.
Let's turn to maybe a happier subject. You'd mentioned him in the first segment. That would be Zeke Biggers, who arguably had his most impactful game of the season versus Notre Dame. 5 tackles. That was a season high. 2 TFLs. And it was interesting how you described his performance. He said he did less. Actually, he let the plays come to him, and as a result, you got the Zeke Biggers, who is that gargantuan, gap-stuffing, 6'6", 322-pound D tackle. Did you feel like Zeke may have been pressing a little more to begin the year, and what's kind of gotten him reset where now he's making that impact in the middle of the line and detonating design runs the way that you knew he could?
Yeah, so many, pressures and distractions come with these kids, from all different areas, outside of the building, externally, and early on, he was really pressing, and sometimes that's not a bad thing. I mean, they want to perform, they want to do good, they want to be able to help impact wins and losses, and be able to play their best. Well, when you start trying to do those things and pressing, you start trying to do too much. And when you start trying to do too much, now you're not playing your responsibility. Now, you start standing up, you start looking for the ball instead of letting it come to you. And I thought he really, the last 2 weeks, said, all right, I'm going to just do my job, all right, and be the best version of myself and the best player I can be within our scheme. And he did that and played better against UNC. Then this past week, I thought he really had an impactful football game.
Yeah, Zeke certainly did. And he wasn't the only one. Another guy that got on the field for you, and this was due partly to Kyle Eford not being available, but he hadn't played and hadn't been cleared in those previous games leading in, was E.J. Lightsey. And boy, that was so good to see. 3 tackles. He contributed a half TFL. He's battled such rotten injury luck throughout his career, but what can make him a valuable piece to your linebacker room?
Well, he's got size. He's got length. He can run. He's a guy really we were hoping was going to be able to be one of those guys this year that developed over the course of the season and got hurt. I think it was first or second game of the year, and missed a lot of valuable time. A lot of time that he would have been on the field. A lot of time, whether sometimes you can't experience by playing. All right, so, and a lot of times it's playing special teams. But he missed all of those reps because of the injuries, and to be able to get him back out there finally and see that size now. Let's take what did on Saturday. Let's correct those things and gain that experience and improve on it this week.
Wasn't it the one chasing Riley Leonard on the very first series off that rollout and forcing that early throw on third down, or was that Tajay? Either way, it was the linebackers that immediately were kind of thrust into the mix there, and they responded on that 3 and out.
I can't. I'm thinking about the guy up in Blacksburg just running around doing those things right now.
Well, so my question about Riley Leonard kind of leads into Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech starting quarterback, because Riley Leonard came in. He had the highest rush average of any Power 4 quarterback in the nation. And what makes him so dangerous, if you watch Notre Dame, is his ability to make those off-schedule runs. It seemed like, by and large, you guys did a fairly good job containing those off-schedule runs from Riley Leonard. How do you assess that aspect of the run defense, and how vital will that be against another guy who's very good with his legs and drones?
Yeah, that's something that Riley does a nice job of improvising on throws, design quarterback runs. Not a terrible amount of read elements in there, but there's enough to be able to
keep you honest.
Yeah, to make you have to defend them. And when he gets out of the pocket, a lot of quarterbacks look to the run to throw, and he's running to run. I mean, that ball's down and he's rolling. He's long, he's fast, he's strong. If you look at third down in the game, I mean, we were 8 of 12 success on defense. Well, the 4 that we weren't successful on were 2 3rd and 1s and 2 3rd and 3s. Mm-hmm. Right, and you get the extra hat in the run game with the quarterback runs, and those short yardage become tough to defend.
So you guys were 0 and 8 on third down defense, 3rd and 5+ versus Notre Dame.
0 and 8.
Yeah, Notre Dame was 0 for 8
Notre
on
Dame,
third
yes,
down, yeah, on 3rd and 5+.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
That's getting it done. That's the number 12 team in the country.
Do you have the same stats?
I probably didn't break it down quite like that.
Because I mean, obviously from the looking at the game, but also we revisited that today in our coordinator meetings of things we got to be able to do and improve on and really emphasize this week.
No doubt about it. Riley Leonard did get picked off. That was from Warren Burrell. And very quickly before we hit the break, I thought that was a really heads-up play by Warren because he caught that shy of the goal line. His momentum then carried him into the end zone. But whether he knew or whether he got the heads up from the sideline, had he taken the knee there, that would have been a safety. So he had the presence of mind to run that back out, actually get you beyond the 20-yard line. But that shows kind of the IQ of Warren Burrell, not only to make that pick, but know where I caught it and avert disaster and avert just gifting Notre Dame a couple of points.
Yeah, those things happen. And a lot of times when you're in the field of play, you lose perspective of where you are when you make the play and then where the momentum carries you. And, he kind of slowed up a little bit at first. And, then as he takes off, if it had happened a little bit quicker, he might have been able to, make a couple more guys miss. But, no, it was a headsy play. It was, good for him to be able to get the pick. And, he's a tough kid. He's probably hadn't heard his name called a ton this year, and
which is sometimes the highest compliment you can pay a DB,
really is, especially for a field corner. And he got banged up a little bit in the second half, didn't miss a beat, and kept playing. So
I know he'll try to make his presence felt in the secondary this Saturday. Once again, your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and the Virginia Tech Hokies, 12 o'clock, Tome East Leather up in Blacksburg. We'll take our next time out and continue the conversation with head coach Brent Key. It's the Brent Key Coaches Show, presented by Hyundai, right here on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. It's our journey, another Thursday night, which means another Brent Key Coaches Show live from New Ulm Brewing Company, East Side Beltline of Atlanta. Once again, Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech, and it pays to be the road team in this series, at least of late, because the visiting team has won 8 of the last 9 in the series, Coach, and Georgia Tech has won 4 straight at Lane Stadium. Tech is only the second school ever in the 60-year history of Lane Stadium to win 4 straight games there, and the first time a road team has won 4 straight in Blacksburg since 1995, which, of course, included your trip up there in 2022. I want to ask you about that game in a second, but I want to talk to you about the non-game that you played in at Virginia Tech back in 2000, because you were supposed to begin your senior season on Labor Day night up at Lane Stadium, that big nationally televised game, and one lightning bolt and biblical rainstorm later, all you did was get dressed, wait, drink some Powerade, and head to the bus. What do you recall of that infamous non-game between Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech back in September of 2000?
What night was it on?
It was Labor Day night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That was
It's been a long week. You can yawn. It's your show.
So I remember the locker room was in the corner of the stadium, and we went out for pregame, and everybody kept saying that it was going to rain and storms were coming, but it was nice out. It was a nice evening, and we go through warm-ups, and we go out for the coin toss, and we're out there doing the coin toss, and me, Felipe Claybrooks, Chris Brown, John Myers, we were standing out there as captains for the first game of the season, did the coin toss, and soon, not long after.
Could you feel the air getting charged?
Well, you feel that coolness come in, especially on a late, early September, late August night or whatnot. Early September, you feel that kind of cool come in, and I do remember that. And then over the back of the stadium, just the lightning bolt hits, and they send us to the locker room.
Well, so and back then they didn't have the locker rooms per se, because you got changed up at Castle Coliseum.
Yes, we did.
So you guys all piled into the halftime room, quote unquote, was just this musty, cramped cinder block room behind the visitor's sideline, and you guys were all in there like an immigrant ship in the 19th century, waiting for an hour to get a.
How did you know that? How did you know about the locker room?
Because I did a story about that for RamblingWreck.com 7 years ago.
Oh, cool.
The award-winning Inside the Chart, which, by the way, you can read right now on RamblingWreck.com. But, yes, go on.
That article?
Yeah.
Send it to me.
I will. Wow. I want to know also if you recall this, because I remember talking with Joe Burns for the story, and he said that for reasons unknown, you guys...
Not true. Joe said it. Joe Burns said it. No, I'm kidding.
He might have been right every once in a while.
No.
So you do remember you didn't have your police escort for reasons unknown after the game. The streets in Blacksburg were all flooded, so it must have taken you 2-3 hours to get from Lane Stadium to the airport. But what Joe remembers most about that flight back was this is in the olden days where there was one in-flight movie. And the in-flight movie of all movies that night was The Perfect Storm.
Yep.
Wow.
I do remember
What a choice.
That. I do remember that. So we sit in the locker room, this little makeshift thing, and water's coming in, and it's just wet. And we opened the door and walked out on the field, and it was, it had to be 3 or 4 inches, like, covering the field.
Yeah. And
we were like, there's no way. How are we going to do this? So, sure enough, I don't know how long was in between. They came in and told us we're not playing, and we trounced back up there and changed and got back on the bus. And it probably took. It felt like it took forever to get back to the airport and get back. We were back in Atlanta and back home way later than we would have it if we'd actually played the game.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So.
Well, that was, of course, the night where a lightning bolt struck the rental car of Lee Corso. They were in town for college game day and all of that. It was supposed to be George Godsey's first career start, so I'm sure you felt a responsibility to protect your new quarterback, and he was all fired up, dueling with Michael Vick, and some people may remember that he was on Sports Illustrated's college football preview edition.
The lightning bolts.
Exactly. With lightning bolts surrounding him and the cover title, Mr. Electricity. If there was ever such a thing as foreshadowing, you believed it after that night. So, yeah, it turned into maybe the most infamous non-game in Georgia Tech history. But you get your chance on the sidelines on Saturday.
Yeah. So
and the weather forecast looks clear. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, it's 65, clear.
You don't know what you can get in Blacksburg in the end of October. They can be brisk up there, so it'll be a gorgeous day to play some ball.
9-mile-an-hour winds, gust up to 20.
Yeah, sounds like good conditions regardless.
Pretty steady temperature throughout the game. So.
All right, Jim Cantore over there.
Jim Cantore.
And also, by the way, that game in 2000, you witnessed the birth of a tradition. And it's become one of the most revered traditions in college football, and it got its origin in a game that never took place because that was the first time ever that Virginia Tech came out to enter Sandman.
Really?
For a game, yes.
Not AC/DC?
No, not AC/DC. They came. That was the very first night they came out to Metallica enter Sandman. It is for a game that was never played.
Thunder.
I'm glad you bring that up. Because I have noticed a trend recently, and you did this again at your press conference today. The last couple of weeks, you've enjoyed doing some karaoke at your press conferences.
I'm the worst singer in the world.
Well, I've noticed you had Metallica. You did some Janet Jackson last week.
Did I?
Yeah, the reporter from South Bend asked you a question, and you started singing "What Have You Done for Me Lately," which was by Janet Jackson.
Wow.
Did some Temptations today.
Did I?
Yeah.
What'd I say?
Get ready, because here I come. You didn't know that was Temptations?
Yeah, of course I did.
Okay. It's a pretty diverse playlist you got going on.
Oh, you should see it.
You put the key in karaoke at your press conferences, by the way.
It's not spelled the same, is it?
It is not, no. Karaoke is Japanese. 2022, Virginia Tech. What did you learn about Zach Pyron making his first career start and leading you guys to a come-from-behind win over the Hokies?
Well, we go up there and, two pretty evenly matched squads, and I think we had a punt return, and
so, I tell you,
but no, it was we're down 28 to
27-16.
27-16. There you go, and we go on some, I don't know, probably, I think it was, I do believe it was a 90-yard drive. And I think there was a 75-yard drive, 73-yard drive that we had. We had a fumble recovery on really I don't know if it's north or south, the right end as we look at it from the sideline.
That's Micaiah Scott who got the recovery.
And they were driving down, which would have really put the game away. And we had to get the turnover. We did. Then we were able to go down and execute. And last play of the game, Zach runs it in, or last play of that drive, and runs it in. The crazy thing about it, and I still use this analogy, the week before he got in for the first time really against Florida State, then we're down in the game. Last play of the football game, he runs in and just runs the guy over at the end zone, which had no impact on the outcome of the game, absolutely zero. But just showing the grit that he has and the want to. And then you fast forward the next week, and really the same thing ended up happening to win the football game.
He's doing that at Lane Stadium, and I know it was a down year for the Hokies, but that's still a tough place to earn a win as a quarterback, let alone a true freshman making his first start. That may have been the first glimpse where the moment was not going to be too big for Zach. And I think you saw that against Notre Dame. Like you said, there were some throws that he'd like to have back, but he came out there and didn't seem tentative, didn't seem jumpy at all, facing a very stout, sound Notre Dame defense. And in this current climate of college football where, boy, that turnstile swings pretty quickly when it comes to quarterbacks jumping in and out of the portal, to have somebody with his experience, his poise as your QB2, that's not the type of quarterback that you see a whole lot of in that role right now in college football. Has to feel like a big luxury.
Yeah, it is. It's good to have that. Good to have somebody that believes in the program, believes in the school, and who graduate in December, and to have that guy with experience and knows the offense, and went out there and operated, and cool, calm, and wasn't too big for him. So it's a luxury to be able to have that.
And he did usurp Haynes for the longest pass completion of the season against the Irish, 60 yards to Abdul Jannah. Only had one catch all season to that point, but Abdul's been a game captain for you twice this year, and I know his numbers are perhaps down from last season, but it seems like his leadership, his value to your team has almost gone up this year.
Yeah, it has. Dooley's been on all the special teams, does a really good job on special teams. He had some issues, catching the ball, and he's really worked on it, really improved it, and he's got such good energy. I mean, those receivers, him and Chase and Malik and Eric and Bailey now, and all those guys are they got so much energy on the practice field. It's contagious, and Dooley's right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, Abdul Jannah,
and he was student athlete of the week.
Yeah, both him and defensively Zeke Biggers was defensive student athlete of the week, was he not?
Saeed, okay. I
thought I saw Zeke
last week.
Might have been last week. It was a really good week for Zeke then. Student athlete of the week on defense, season high in tackles against Notre Dame.
Maybe I need to go back and give it to him again.
I'm probably sure. He's a consistent guy. Was it weird seeing him for the first time without the dreadlocks? Because he had those locks almost down to the middle of the 88 on the back of his jersey. And for those who don't know, he had cut them because he pledged Omega Sci-Fi. The first time you laid eyes on Zeke, did you have to do a double take? He's 6'6", 322. He's pretty easy to stand out. But yeah.
He is easy to see. It's easy to know him. He's got that smile, the big old smile that he has all the time. But no, it was a little different. The hair was so long and thick and
looked like the Predator.
Yeah, the first time I saw him without it, he had a suit on and was all dressed nice, and I was like, whoa.
Corporate Zeke.
Yeah, he did. Very corporate. Very corporate.
Now, he's an agile guy, and certainly Notre Dame knows about his unblockability. He'll try to bring that same trait to Lane Stadium on Saturday. Once again, Georgia Tech versus Virginia Tech. We'll continue the conversation about the Hokies, 4-3. They've won 2 straight. Really ran wild last Thursday over Boston College, featuring one of the ACC's top rushers. The Brent Key Coaches Show is brought to you by Aero Exterminators. Going beyond the call. We'll have more with Coach Key after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Yellow Jacket fans, be sure to visit GeorgiaPower.com/community to learn new ways to stay connected. Georgia Power, the official energy sponsor of Georgia Tech Athletics. Power on Georgia. He's Brent Key. I'm Andy Demetra. Contrary to your preference, it is the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai, right here on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. You announced your captains earlier today for Virginia Tech, and again, that'll be at 12 o'clock kick time up at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. Typically, you roll out 4. You slimmed it down to 2. Thomas Gore and then Corey Robinson. Tell us why both Corey and TG were worthy of those honors.
He put them to play really good games. And, Corey is a guy now for 2 years that, both for different reasons, but, long story short, this year he was in position to be the guy left, and gets hurt early in preseason. and then comes, works his way back in, and was able to kind of recapture that position. Last year he had lost it to Ethan early on and came back and was able to capture it at the end of the year and played good football down the stretch. And look, we're going to need Corey to play good ball. And then TG, he's a fire plug, and he's got. You love the way he plays the game. You love the effort he plays with, the way he's able to impact the game. And a lot of times they don't show up in statistics at the defensive line position, but you are impacting. And we're going to need both those guys to play good football.
Corey Robinson has Pro Football Focus's second highest pass blocking grade among all tackles nationally. So you talk about there's not a lot of statistics that can reflect the value or the impact of an offensive lineman. Pro Football Focus does its own analytics. He's the only Power 4 player that has a pass blocking grade of 90 or higher. And that'll come in handy because he's facing the guy who leads the nation in sacks, and he wears Hokie maroon. That's Antoine Ryland Powell. What can you tell us about him?
Relentless, and his sacks come in different ways too, and not just the sacks, but affecting the quarterback. It's not just all straight rush. I mean, they're effort sacks. Quarterback goes to scramble, and he peels back across the pile and makes a sack, and gets stalemated and restarts back up and counters. I mean, so he's a good player.
He had 4 sacks in that win over Boston College. Do you see any comps to him as a pass rusher? The guys you coached against, played against, have seen at the next level. Everyone's so independent of themselves and the way they play the game. You got to be on top of it each week, and it's not just knowing the plan that we're putting in, that we're going to work and go execute, and not just knowing the defense, but knowing the individual tendencies of the players. I had this conversation with Zeke, and he's the subject of my Inside the Chart column on RamblinWreck.com, that because of the added depth at defensive tackle, as a unit, they're feeling fresher now. Yeah. And believe it or not, through 8 games, Zeke has played almost 110 fewer snaps this year than through 8 games last year. And it's got to make you feel good that those guys aren't going to be wearing down. And at this point in the season now, where everybody's sore, everybody's tired, that you have some bodies in there in the middle that can be fresher, rotate in, and maintain that effectiveness. And Thomas Gore has certainly done his part in helping that. Yeah, and then that's a whole can of worms to open up to talk about. I know. It's we've improved overall. The players on the team, but we've got to continue to improve is the depth, right? Mm-hmm. In year one, we made a major emphasis in it to address the depth on the defensive line, and particularly the defensive tackle spot, and on the offensive line. Now the offensive line guys are a few more developmental, just by nature of the position. But both of them, I mean, they're too deep on the scout teams on the O-line and D-line. Right? And when you can be that way, that means you're not, cross serving each other and taking the second group and playing against the first defense. You're able to really keep guys keep them fresher. I don't think we've had a defensive tackle play over 40 plays in a game yet. That's good. And there was one point last year. I think Zeke played 62 plays against Boston College, who's a power team, and that's way too much. But we didn't. There was no one. Really, there weren't a lot of other people. So it's helped those guys play fresh, and continuing to add to and develop the depth on our team is what's going to continue to help us play this time of year. One of your offensive linemen is in line to set a school record on Saturday. That would be Jordan Williams, who, barring something cataclysmic, will make a 49th career start, and that will break the school record for most career starts by an offensive lineman, held at least for 48 more hours by my color analyst, Andrew Gardner. How many? This will be number 49 on Saturday for Jordan. 49. Because he started as a freshman in 2020. Right, I'm trying to think back. Now, you said there was some controversy about your consecutive start streak at Georgia Tech. We talked about that last week on the show. Because we had you down for 44, but you said it was 47? So there was... it's a long story. We'll get into it later. Okay. Now, there was 2 that I didn't start. It was 48 plays. I started 46. Okay. But going back, it was my junior year. I can't
can't remember. That's so far. There's so many other things I'm thinking of.
The math isn't mathing, but you got more important facts and figures to worry about when it comes to the Hokies. But, yeah, an early congratulations to Jordan Williams. I will make sure at the hotel tomorrow night Andrew Gardner doesn't try to throw a banana peel at Jordan Williams.
So 49.
Yeah, 49 consecutive. Or career, I should say.
Yeah, career. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Because he missed a couple games last year. After the Wake Forest game, I believe, and then a few more along the way. So, I mean, gosh, he could be up in the 50s at some point.
It's not easy to do at a high collision position such as offensive tackle. So we bring on Andrew Gardner, and 4 games into his career as our color analyst, he gets to have a nice view for one of his records getting broken. So quite a way to welcome Andrew to the broadcast.
That's a heck of a record now.
It is.
That's a heck of a record. I had a guy at a previous place that I believe it was, he would have been on track to start 60. And this was obviously pre-COVID, with the extra COVID year. But in 4 years, start 60. He missed one start, so I think he ended up starting 59 games.
That's hard to fathom.
Which I do believe is a record. I mean, I think it was 59 games he started.
Meanwhile, I slip on a bath mat, and I'm going to miss the next 2 days of work. So that's
IR.
Yeah.
Are you questionable, doubtful?
I'm hopeful.
Hopeful.
But are we all?
Hopeful. What's the emoji for that?
Good question. Oh, fingers crossed. There you go. I like that. We'll take one final timeout. Wrap up on our preview on Virginia Tech as we get you set for Tome East Leather at noon on Saturday. One more break and then back to tie things up here on the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Final couple of minutes here from New Round Brewing Company. A quick reminder, hey, Georgia, you can play Georgia Lottery games online at home, on your phone, or anywhere. Go to GLottery.com and click on DigiGames. Georgia Tech trying to win a 5th straight at Lane Stadium on Saturday as they battle a 4-3 Virginia Tech Hokies. Our network airtime will be at 10 a.m. this Saturday. We couldn't preview Virginia Tech without mentioning Bayshul Tuden. He had a school record 266 rushing yards versus Boston College last Thursday. 124 rushing yards per game. That's 7th in the country. What makes him so dangerous in the backfield?
I mean, what doesn't? I mean, that's such an easy question to answer, but it's hard because he's such a good player. I mean, first off, scheme. They do a really good job with their scheme of some of the misdirection, the motions, the wide zone plays, the counter plays, the motion into different formations, put him in position. You've obviously got to respect the quarterback and what he does. And then, he's a powerful runner. He's got speed as well. Can make guys miss in the hole. And anytime you can make a guy miss, at the point of attack, there's extra yards out there.
Kyron Drones, you compared him today to a guy that you knew in Alabama, Jalen Hurts. Really quickly, why the comparison? Size,
composure, the way he plays the game. I mean, it's eerie how similar young Jalen is.
Well, Kyron Drones against your stable of quarterbacks should be a great matchup, and some good weather conditions as well, so you don't have to worry about any lightning bolts or torrential sheets of rain like in 2000. Excited. Your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and the Virginia Tech Hokies as we get you set for Tome East Leather on Saturday. And on that, we wrap up this week's edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. Brent, always appreciate the conversation. Can't wait to see what karaoke selections you'll have at the press conference next week.
No, I appreciate it, Andy. I mean, go Jackets, and excited for the weekend.
Sounds great. He's Brent Key. I'm Andy Demetra. Thanks to our engineer, Isaiah Stewart. Make sure you stick around for the Good Word featuring Justin Hanover and Chris Mooneyham on the other side of this break. I'm Andy Demetra. Have a great night, everyone.